Okay, in this video we're going to be checking out the EMAX Hawk 5. This is a 5-inch racing drone. Comes uh, ready to fly here with the FreeSky XM Plus receiver, fully built. And I would have to say, right off the bat, this is probably one of the better out-of-the-box experiences. If you're looking to buy a drone, go charge a battery and go fly it, definitely you want to check this one out. This is going to be one of the easiest ones to set up. I believe it took a total of 10 minutes to just make sure that my receiver was bound, and I put the props on, charged the battery, and I went and flew it with the stock tune. So it does come tuned from the factory. They do have pilots that actually go and fly this, and I would say the tune is pretty good. You'll see that in the flight demo. I do talk about that in the flight demo. Quickly, let's go over the specs of this. It's kind of closer to a TrueX than a StretchedX, but it's a little bit of a StretchedX. It's 210 millimeters motor to motor. It's 145 millimeters side to side and about 152 millimeters front to back. So it's just a tiny bit stretched. The arms, as you can see, are separated and replaceable, and they do include a spare arm in the kit. If you want to see a complete unboxing with all the stuff you get in the kit, that'll be in haul number 91. I'll put a card in the corner if you want to see that. But it is nice that they include a spare arm in case you break one. And I measured the arm to be only 4.5 millimeters thick, which is a little bit, I guess, unusual, because most of the 5-inch racers are coming with 5 millimeter arms these days, unless they're going for an ultra lightweight. But this is kind of in between. It's not an ultra lightweight, but it's not kind of a really heavy frame either. The total weight of the frame comes in at 285 grams here, as you see with the props on and the battery strap on, everything here, just no battery. And I think that definitely falls into the lighter category. It's not not definitely heavy, but not definitely an ultralight either. And I think that it has a little bit less weight because of the motors on here. They went with a smaller motor. It's a 2206 2300 kV, and it's a smaller motor, a little bit lower kV, a little bit lighter motor. It's also a little bit of an older motor, so I haven't had a chance to review this because it's been out of stock, and finally had a chance to acquire one of these. And a lot of these components have been around for a while. So like the motors have been around for a while. The flight stack in here, which is the EMAX Magnum F4, this has also been around for a while. It's a 30 amp 4-in-1 ESC, BLHeli-S, so up to D-Shot 600. You have an F4 flight controller with an Betaflight OSD, and you have a video transmitter. I think it's on this side here. You can't really see it. That's the receiver on that side. It's over here. It does have a small button right on the side, so it's pretty easy to change your bands and channels. Typical long press, short press style, and they have a cutout here in the top plate for the LED indicator showing your bands and channels. It's an older stack here. It's been around for a while. This is, it's a good stack. It's in a lot of builds. It's well tested, works well. So nothing wrong with it. It's just a little bit older, and the video transmitter only goes up to 200 milliwatts. It is power switchable. I think 25 to 200 milliwatts. Not sure if it has pit mode or not. It definitely doesn't have things like smart audio or the tramp protocol, so you can't change your bands and channels using your transmitter. Again, as I said, this is a little bit older stack here. So, they took some pretty decent parts that were, well tested and put into this frame. As I mentioned before, the frame is pretty decent. Not super lightweight, but also not heavy. The frame itself is well cut, but the edges aren't chamfered. So they are sharp edges, but they're not going to cut you. The edges have been, it's been cleaned and stuff, so the quality of the cuts are pretty decent. It's just that the edges aren't chamfered like you would find on the Batman220 frame. And I think they went to sort of this interesting design. It's kind of similar to the way that they put together the Baby Hawk R, just kind of blew it up. You got a sandwich plate here on the bottom, and it's a little bit narrower. Can't really see that because of the battery strap. A little bit narrow here where the battery goes. You got your sticky pad already on there to grip the battery, and then you got your other sandwich plate on right below the flight controller stack, which is a little bit bigger. And these are, like, pretty thin plates, about 2 millimeters thick, and then they went with a 2 millimeter thick plate over here on top. and then they went with this sort of like sandwiched style here. A little bit more strength here where the standoffs are, but you know, they are trying to save weight here as well. And then you can see here some cutouts here for top mounting the battery. I think that they're going for a toilet bowl mounting of the battery if you want to go for that, if you prefer that sort of CG. It does come with pagoda antenna and a little micro FL to SMA adapter for that antenna, but I decided just to go with the whip antenna that was already on here. Worked pretty well. I think I was only flying at 25 milliwatts. You'll see that in the flight demo. I just put these zip ties in here to secure that, to make sure they didn't get hit by the props. It was just hanging out here in the back, and then you use a little heat shrink and a zip tie to keep it up. As long as it's away from the frame like this, you'll get pretty good reception. So the props on here are the EMAX Hawk props, of course. They're going with their in-house props. And I think that they designed these props here specifically for this 2206 motor. And because it's a lower KV, I think that they kind of took the lower KV on this prop design and combined it to give it pretty good torque and power at lower values of throttle. I think that if you put a different prop on here, you might experience some different flight characteristics, and definitely will need a different tune. But I think that the tune and the motor and this prop are all kind of put together, and they sort of designed it this way. And I think this prop goes pretty well with this particular motor. I think if you're looking at other motors for this prop in the 2300 kV, I think that this prop will help out with a lower kV motor. I think the design of this prop is going to be better for that, for lower ends of the throttle. Now, if you're looking for, you know, like maximum power at the top end of the throttle, I think that this prop and this motor is probably not the best for that, especially nowadays. I mean, this model came out before like the large influx of 2306 motors, which is a bigger motor and also higher kV. So they have a lot of like 2450 kV 2306 motors, and also even more kV than that, like 2600, 2700 kV. It's going to do better on a different prop, obviously. So they took all these components and designed it together to come up with this complete package. But if you try and swap parts out, it might fly differently, so just keep that in mind. But if you're not looking at doing that kind of stuff, and you just want something that's already pre-built and well put together and works well together, this is definitely one you want to check out. Okay, so now that I've covered all the specs and sort of details of this, I know a question I'm going to get is this better than the Batman220? And there's definitely a lot of pros and cons to both. I think that the out-of-box experience is about the same on both. The tune's a little bit better on the Hawk 5 versus the Batman220. The Batman220 is definitely faster than this guy here, with the bigger 2306 2450 kV motors, and the components are more updated. They're very recent. The stack in the Batman220s got 32-bit ESCs, and the ESCs are better. They're like 60 amp ESCs, blah blah blah. You can go watch that video if you're interested. But you know, one of the advantages of having the smaller motor with the lower kV and this prop here is you're going to get more flight time. So if you're looking for something that's going to give you more flight time, I would check out the Hawk 5. It's still pretty good performance for the money at 250 with a receiver and pretty much all ready to go. But if you don't really care about flight time, you need maximum performance, this one is going to get beaten by the Batman220. So if you want all-out power and more speed, I think that the Batman220 is going to be faster, and it's going to give you a better flight experience in terms of the power aspect of the motors and everything for that particular model over this one. Anyway, it's enough of me blabbering on about this. I'll go ahead and show you some flight demo footage, because I'm sure that's what you're mostly interested in. If you guys have any questions, let me know, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Okay, so I'm about to maiden the Hawk 5, and I'm just running the stock PIDs that they sent from the factory. Haven't made any changes, but in case you're wondering, I'm going to go ahead and show you what they are here now. And I fly everything stock, so those are the PIDs that you're going to see in this flight. So I'm flying with a 4S 1500 milliamp hour LiPo. It's a pretty decent LiPo with I think it's got an 80C rating, and I can tell that the stock tune is pretty smooth. No complaints about the tune so far. Obviously they've tuned it for these motors and these Avant props, so if you change the props, the tune might have to change as well. Just getting a little bit of feel here. Trying to see if I can get any prop wash to come out. Pretty good so far. And I could tell that these 2206 2300 kV motors are just a tad bit underpowered compared to a 2306 motor. But it's not like the motor doesn't have any power. It has decent power. Just compared to a 2306, the motor on the Batman220, that's a 2306 2450 kV motor. That one, it's higher kV, bigger stator. That one definitely has more power than this one for sure. So this one definitely tracks nicely. Can hold a line pretty good. Obviously they designed this for racing, no doubt. But yeah, definitely can do acro, no issues. It's got enough power for that, but just saying it's got a little bit less power than the Batman motors. I'm not sure if the current sensor is actually accurate or not, but I'm watching the milliamp hour readings there. Let's go do a full seed punch out here. And on full throttle, I got a little bit of oscillation to come out, so usually you can fix that by adding a little bit of TPA. So I'm not sure what TPA value is for this one, but you can probably fix that by adding a little bit of TPA. And you can hear the oscillation in the prop, and also see a little bit of vibration. So, obviously even though every build is the same components, not every build needs the exact same tune. So even though it does come with a factory tune, they probably made it a little bit, in this case, probably a little bit too tight on the high end, but really no complaints about the tune. It's a good tune from the factory, very smooth. And I'm probably killing the battery doing all those moves. As you can see, the battery just sag a bit. It's on factor 14.4, about 3 minutes of flight time. One of the advantages I think of having the smaller motor, the 22.6 on the lower kV, is you're going to have a little bit more flight time. And I've heard that they tuned the motor and these props together, so they actually designed them so you'll get pretty good power and pretty good efficiency. So I'm expecting at least a 4-minute flight time, I think, which is going to be good. But yeah, there's been a lot of hype on this particular model, and I hadn't had a chance to fly this, and I would have to agree that the hype is real. It's a good out-of-the-box experience here. Just that because these motors are a bit older, the power is less than what I have felt from bigger motors. But that's totally going to be normal. I got the buzzer to finally beep, and it looks like I got a leaf on my camera. So that little power loop, and the battery did sag again, but I'm at 4.5 minutes, and yeah, I definitely have a leaf there somewhere that I caught. It's coming back into my camera view. It's not kind of distracting a little bit. But yeah, it looks like I'm getting about 5 minutes of flight time here. The video reception is also very good, and of course the camera is excellent on this one. I like the Fox Zero Micro Aero. Very good camera. I think my only complaint is the motors. If they could get to the newer 2306 motors on this one, I think that one would be a really nice motor for this particular machine. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and land. I'm at over 5 minutes. I think it's interesting that the flight time is blinking. And I'm at 1300 milliamps on a 1500, so probably nearing the end of the battery. I think that current sensor is pretty accurate, so I'll go ahead and land it here now. And definitely I enjoyed this first flight. Yeah, this is a good model to check out. Hype is real.